Ladies and gentlemen, there comes a moment in every life, a silent moment, when the world goes quiet, and all you can hear is the voice inside your own soul whispering, "Do something, move, now." Maybe you're there right now. Maybe you've been waiting for the right time, the right feeling, the right sign from the universe. But let me tell you the truth you already know deep down. The sign is not coming because you are the sign. You are the one you've been waiting for. There is no cavalry charging over the hill. There is no magic in the morning that will make you feel ready, but there is power, and that power lives in one sacred, eternal truth. You can force yourself to take action. Action creates momentum, not the other way around. We've all been there, sitting in the quiet of our own mind, waiting for that perfect moment to strike. Waiting for inspiration to hit, for confidence to show up, for the fog of uncertainty to clear. We lie to ourselves, saying we just need a little more clarity, a little more motivation, a little more time. But here's the truth that most never learn. The moment you're waiting for is not coming. Not unless you create it. The world doesn't hand out motivation to those who wait. It reveals it to those who move. Action, no matter how small, is the spark that lights the fire. You don't feel ready first. You act, and then you feel ready. What separates those who live with purpose from those who die with regret is not talent, luck, or even intelligence. It's movement. It's that split-second choice to take one step forward even when the path is unclear. Momentum is not some magical force that shows up in your life when the stars align. Momentum is built like muscle through tension, resistance, and repetition. Every time you choose action over hesitation, you add weight to the wheel. And once it starts turning, even slowly, you've created something powerful, something that compounds. Think about how hard it is to push a car from a standstill. That first moment takes everything you've got. You push, strain, grit your teeth, and for a while it feels like nothing is happening. But eventually the car starts to budge, a few inches, then a foot, and soon the wheels are moving. It's the same with your goals. That initial resistance, that's normal. That's life testing your seriousness. The key is to lean into it, especially when it's hardest, because once the wheels of action begin to move, even slightly, they carry you further with far less effort. So many people wait until they feel like it, but feelings are liars. Feelings come and go. If you build your life around feelings, you'll never build anything at all. You'll be stuck in the waiting room of your own potential, watching others walk past you, not because they're better, but because they acted while you hesitated. Action isn't about being fearless. It's about doing it scared. It's about waking up tired and still choosing to work. It's about showing up without motivation, without certainty, without guarantees, and putting one foot in front of the other anyway. There's something sacred about taking action when it's hard. It rewires your brain. It tells your subconscious, I am the kind of person who does what must be done. And over time, that identity sticks. You stop needing as much external push because the internal engine is roaring. You become someone who trusts yourself, not because of positive thinking, but because of positive doing. Each time you follow through, even when it's tough, you strengthen the neural pathways of discipline and self-belief. And that belief becomes your momentum. Momentum doesn't come in grand gestures. It's born in the small, seemingly insignificant decisions you make each day. Choosing the gym when you'd rather sleep, making the call you're afraid to make, writing one paragraph when your mind is blank. These tiny wins build like bricks. At first, it's slow and you may not see much change, but keep stacking, keep laying them down, and one day you look up and see you've built something solid, a foundation so strong that it starts building itself. That's the beauty of momentum. What was once hard becomes habit. What was once a struggle becomes your standard. Of course, the enemy will show up. Every single time. Resistance, self-doubt, excuses dressed as logic. They will whisper that it's too late, that you're not enough, that today doesn't matter. But action silences them all. Not with noise, but with movement. Because movement is louder than thought. The moment you move, you change your emotional state. You interrupt the loop of overthinking. You tell your brain, we're not negotiating anymore, we're doing this. And from that point on, you've taken control. You've stepped out of the passenger seat of your life and grabbed the wheel. People talk about finding passion, purpose, meaning, but none of those things reveal themselves in the waiting. They show up in the doing. You don't discover your strength before you act. You find it inside the act. The more you move, the more life opens up. Opportunities appear, confidence grows, focus sharpens, and suddenly you realize the secret wasn't motivation, it wasn't luck, and it sure wasn't waiting. It was action, it was motion, it was the bold, quiet choice to begin right where you are with what you have. That is where power lives. That is how momentum is born. Discipline over emotion. There is a battle happening inside every one of us every single day. It is the war between how we feel and what we know we must do. On one side, emotion pulls at us with comfort, with fear, with laziness, with doubt. It tells us to rest, to wait, to avoid discomfort. And on the other side, discipline stands like a quiet warrior, strong, firm, and unwavering. Discipline doesn't yell. It doesn't beg for attention. It simply waits for us to choose it. And every time we do, we take a step toward freedom. Not the freedom of ease, but the freedom of power, the freedom of self-restraint, the freedom of becoming who we were meant to be. Emotions are like the weather. They shift without warning. You can wake up full of energy and purpose, then lose it all to one comment, one thought, or one moment of fear. If you rely on emotions to guide your actions, you're handing over the keys of your life to a force you can't predict. But discipline? Discipline is the anchor. It holds steady when everything else wants to fall apart. It doesn't care if you're tired, scared, uninspired. Discipline shows up. It puts in the work. It keeps the promise you made to yourself long after the feeling is gone. There is power in doing what needs to be done, even when your entire body resists it. That resistance is not a sign to stop. It's a signal to begin. Because real growth lives on the other side of discomfort. Discipline doesn't ask for your feelings. It demands your decision. It doesn't wait for the perfect moment. It creates it. And when you start showing up over and over again, regardless of how you feel, something begins to change inside you. You start becoming someone you can count on. You start proving to yourself that you are not at the mercy of your mood. You are the master of your choices. People talk about motivation like it's magic, but motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes like the tide. If you want to build a life that lasts, a dream that manifests, a character that can weather storms, you need something stronger than motivation. You need discipline. Motivation might get you started, but only discipline will keep you going when it gets hard, when it gets boring, when no one is clapping. Discipline is your commitment to action, even when every part of you would rather quit. It's the invisible engine behind every great achievement. It's the difference between a wish and a result. You'll hear the voice in your head, soft, persuasive, always trying to sell you the easy way out. Just skip today. You've done enough. You can try again tomorrow. But here's the hard truth. Every time you obey that voice, it gets loud. And every time you silence it with discipline, you get stronger. The voice won't disappear completely. It's part of the process, but it loses its grip on you when you stop listening and start acting. Discipline doesn't kill that voice. It overpowers it with action again and again until you become someone who is no longer ruled by emotion, but led by purpose. Discipline is a form of love. Love for your future, love for your goals, love for the version of you that's buried beneath fear and excuses. When you discipline yourself, you're not being hard on yourself. You're being committed to yourself. You're choosing your higher self over your momentary self. You're saying, I believe in what I'm becoming more than I believe in how I feel right now. That kind of love is rare. It's sacred. And it's the foundation of every legacy that's ever been built. Emotions scream for relief. Discipline whispers, keep going. Don't get it twisted. Discipline isn't about being robotic. It's not about burning out or numbing your feelings. It's about mastering your ability to act with intention, even when your emotions don't cooperate. It's about making decisions based on your values, not your moods. Your emotions are valid, but they are not your guide. Let them inform you, but don't let them lead you. Let them rise and fall, but don't let them hold the steering wheel. Discipline gives you the space to feel everything and still move forward. It gives you strength, structure, and sovereignty over your own life. You are the answer you've been waiting for. There's a lie that's been sold to you, whispered to you since childhood. It told you that the answers you need are somewhere out there. In a book, a mentor, a podcast, a perfect opportunity, a lucky break. So you keep searching, scrolling, waiting, hoping someone or something will rescue you from your own hesitation. But the truth, the brutal and beautiful truth is this: no one is coming. There is no savior. No external force is going to show up and hand you the life you dream of. Because everything you need, every answer, every breakthrough is already inside of you, buried beneath layers of fear, doubt, and delay. You think you need more time. You think you need more clarity. You think you need to hear one more inspirational message before you start. But what you really need is to look in the mirror and remember who you are, what you've already survived. You've carried pain that would have crushed others. You've faced storms that should have drowned you. You're still here, breathing, beating, and yet you question whether you have what it takes. You've already proved it 100 times. But you keep forgetting because the world taught you to second-guess yourself instead of trust your own voice. Every time you hesitate, every time you hold back, every time you wait for permission, you deny yourself the gift of your own power. You keep thinking someone else has the blueprint for your life, but the blueprint was born the moment you were. It lives inside your struggle, inside your resilience, inside your willingness to rise again and again and again. You're not broken, you're not behind, you're not too late. You're just scared to own the truth that no one has more authority over your life than you do. That's a heavy responsibility, but it's also the key to your freedom. You were not born to be a spectator. You were not created to sit on the sidelines while others write their stories in bold ink. You were made to rise, to move, to break through. But you keep looking for someone to validate your worth, to give you a sign, to tell you it's okay to start. Here's your sign. You are the one. You are the fire. You are the answer you've been begging the world to give you. Stop outsourcing your power. Stop waiting for someone to choose you. Choose yourself right now, in this moment, in your mess, in your uncertainty, in your doubt. You don't need to have it all figured out. You don't need to feel ready. You just need to move forward with what you have, because what you have is more than enough. The greatest breakthroughs in life don't come from certainty. They come from courage. They come from raw, trembling steps into the unknown. They come from saying, I don't know how this ends, but I'm not staying where I am. That kind of decision, that kind of self-declaration, it shifts everything. It breaks cycles, it starts movements, it rewrites stories. And it begins the moment you stop waiting and start becoming. You've been looking outward for too long, for guidance, for answers, for guarantees. But if you paused long enough to really listen, to really connect with the deepest part of yourself, you'd realize the answers are already there. The intuition, the strength, the fire in your gut that whispers, there's more for you than this. That voice is real, and it's yours. But you've silenced it with distraction, buried it under fear, ignored it because it doesn't scream, it speaks. And if you just trust it for once, you'll begin to see a version of your life that feels like alignment, not survival. The heroes you admire, the people who broke through and made something unforgettable out of their lives, they didn't have some secret key. They just stopped waiting. They stopped blaming. They stopped depending on outside forces to change their story and took the pen back into their own hands. And that's exactly what you must do. No more delays, no more excuses, no more pretending you're powerless. You've got breath in your lungs, pain in your story, and vision in your heart. That's enough to begin. That's enough to rise. That's enough to step out of the shadows and into your own potential. This is not about arrogance. It's about awakening. It's about looking within and realizing that everything you thought you were missing was already with you. The world told you to wait your turn. I'm telling you to take your turn. The world told you to shrink. I'm telling you to expand. You are not your circumstances. You are not your past. You are not your fear. You are the force that breaks patterns, that sets fires, that wakes up generations. You are the answer you've been waiting for. The only question is, when will you finally believe it? You've heard the truth now, not just in words, but in the echoes of your own soul. You've been reminded that the key to everything you want isn't waiting somewhere outside of you. It's been with you all along. The momentum you're seeking, it begins the moment you move. The strength you think you lack, it grows each time you choose discipline over emotion. And the help you keep looking for, it's found when you finally realize you are the answer you've been waiting for. The path forward isn't easy, but it's clear. Take the first step, even when it's uncomfortable. Show up, even when you don't feel like it. Trust yourself, even when doubt whispers, because everything changes when you stop waiting for permission and start living with intention. You don't need to feel ready. You don't need to know exactly how. You just need to decide once and for all that you will not stay where you are. The world doesn't reward hesitation. It rewards bold, relentless action. So stop waiting, start building, move forward with fire, be disciplined, be daring, be unstoppable, and remember, every time you take a step, no matter how small, you're proving to the world and to yourself that you were made for more. Thank you for your time, thank you for your heart, God bless you, and now go become everything you were born to be.